Hello, one and all. Today we are going to see about our topic. Our topic is terms of trade, roles of institutions like UNCTAD and GATT, WTO in promoting the trade in agriculture products and free trade agreements. Now let us see what is meant by the terms of trade. Terms of trade is generally referred to as the ratio between the export trade price to import trade price. Now let us see what is the full form for ITO. It means International Trade Organization. This was proposed by the Bretton Woods Conference to establish the rules and regulations for the international trade. The ITO Charter was agreed on the UN Conference on Trade and Employment in March 1948 but was never ratified by the US Senate, thus never coming into existence. Now let us see what is meant by the GATT. GATT refers to General Agreement on Tariff and Trades. It is a multilateral agreement international trade. It is effective from June 30, 1948 to January 1, 1995 when it was observed by the World Trade Organization. The aims of this GATT is it has a substantial reduction of tariffs and other trade barriers, elimination of preference, failures of negotiating governments. Now let us see about the objectives of GATT. According to the preamble of GATT, the main objective of the GATT is reduction of barriers to the international trade. The barriers consist of two types, that is tariff and non-tariff. Tariff refers to the change in monetary value products and services. Non-tariff refers to the quality and quantity of the product and services. Now let us see the objectives in detail. The primary objectives of the GATT was to expand the international trade by liberalizing the so as to bring about all round economic prosperity, raising the standards of living, ensuring full, large and steady employment for the people in the country, and growing volume of real income and effective demand. And it also helps in developing the full use of resource of the world and expansion of promotion and international trade. The GATT was held in 9 rounds. In this slide, you can see the 9 rounds held in which year and in which month it was held. First, it was held in Geneva, and in the 9th conference, that the 9th round was took at Doha in November 2001. Now let us see about the GATT and India's agriculture sector. India was one of the 23 founding contracting parties to the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. It was concluded in October 1947. The main objective of this treaty is to perform world trade as market access, domestic support and export. Now let us see about the WTO, which stands for World Trade Organization. International governmental organization regulates the international trade. Officially commenced on 1st January 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement. It was signed by 123 nations in 1994. The World Trade Organization had replaced General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. They deal with agriculture, textiles, clothing, banking, telecommunication, government purchases, industrial standards and product safety, food sanitation, regulations, intellectual property and much more. Now let us see why we needed a World Trade Organization. It is needed to arrange the implementation, administration and operation of trade agreements, to provide a framework for implementing of the results arising out of the deliberations which taken place at ministerial conference level. It is also very much useful to manage effectively and efficiently the trade policy review mechanism. It is also needed to create more together relationship with all nations in respect of global economy. Now let us see the Functions. There are many functions related to the World Trade Organization. Some of the functions we can see in this slide. Administrating WTO trade agreements, forum for trade negotiations, handling trade disputes, monitoring the national trade policies, technical assistance and training for developing countries. Then cooperation with the other international organizations. The principles of World Trade Organizations. The basic principles we can see first. The trade without discrimination. That means most favored nation. We should not treat one nation up and one nation down. We should treat all the peoples in nations equally. National treatment. We should treat the foreigners and the locals equally. Free trade, gradually through negotiation, predictability through binding and transparency, promoting fair competition, encouraging the development and economic reforms. The role of World Trade Organization. It helps the trading industry to become smooth, fair, free and predictable. It supports all occurring negotiation for latest agreement for trade. It resolves the trade disputes between member nations. WTO acts as the administrator in unfair trade practices, and the staffs of the WTO are expected to investigate and check if there are any violations based on the multilateral agreements. Now let us see the difference between the General Agreement on Tariff and Trades and World Trade Organization. First of all, the GATT is a professional one, but the WTO is a permanent one. And the GATT has a contracting parties, whereas the WTO has members. The GATT system allows existing domestic legislations to continue even if it is violated, but this is not permitted in WTO. The GATT is less powerful, whereas the WTO is more powerful and it is dispute. The settlement mechanism is very less in GATT, whereas in WTO it is very more. And the GATT is less efficient, and here the WTO is more efficient. Now let us see about the UNCTAD. It consists of 194 member states. United Nations body responsible for dealing with development issues, particularly international trade. It is a main driver of development. Its work can be summed up by three words, that is think, debate and deliver. Now let us see the functions of it. To promote the international trade, that is, it is accelerating the economic development, and to formulate the principles and policies on international trade and related problems of economic development. And it is also used to negotiate the multinational trade agreements, to make proposals for putting its principles and policies into effort. The role of UNCTAD or it is a generalized system of preference, and it has a special international program to help least developed countries and international aid targets. During the breakdown of Bretton Woods system, oil price shocks, inflation and accumulation of debt by developing countries, UNCTAD became a central forum for debates between the North and South. Now let us see what are all the main areas of work of the UNCTAD. The main areas are globalization and development, international trade and commodities, investment and enterprise, technology and logistics. The organizational structure of the UNCTAD consists of conference, trade and development board, commissions, expert meetings and secretariat. There are many advantages related to UNCTAD, but we have covered some of the advantages in this slide. Now let us see some of the advantages in brief. It acts as a training material. It provides university and accounting institutions in developing the countries with access to material and training in a cost-effective manner, allows the students and professionals to learn on their own in their own time and their own place, and they provide study materials and lessons in the PDF format on the online study. The participants can learn independently or with offline instructional support. It can reach a remote location in instance where the instructor cannot travel this way. Course participants, policymakers and company managers can be reached in developing countries very easily. Thank you.